Good morning to everyone. Today's topic is surgical orthodontics, and I'm going to discuss minor surgical procedures. Surgical procedures carried out as an adjunct to or in conjunction with orthodontic treatment are termed as surgical orthodontics. These surgical procedures are usually carried out to eliminate an etiologic factor or to correct severe dentofacial abnormalities that cannot be satisfactorily treated by growth modification procedures or orthodontic camouflage. For example, if VTO, that is visualized treatment objective, is negative for a patient that we are planning for growth modification procedure or planning extractions in the patient is not improving profile of the patient or soft tissue relationship, those patients are planned for orthodontic surgical procedures. Surgical orthodontic procedures are broadly classified as minor surgical procedures and major surgical procedures. Most minor surgical procedures are an integral part of orthodontic therapy. The major surgical procedures are aimed at treatment of severe skeletal malocclusion or dentofacial deformities that cannot be satisfactorily treated by orthodontic treatment alone. And there should be a good coordination between a neurosurgeon and orthodontist when undertaking such procedures. Under minor surgical procedure comes extraction, surgical uncovering of teeth, frenectomy, paricision, transplantation of teeth, and corticotomy. First is extraction. Extractions are the most commonly undertaken minor surgical procedure in conjunction with orthodontic therapy. Extraction procedures carried out are therapeutic extractions, serial extractions, extraction of carious teeth, extraction of malformed teeth, extraction of supernumerary teeth, and extraction of impacted teeth. First of all, therapeutic extractions, they are undertaken as a part of full-fledged orthodontic treatment, mainly to gain space. But prior to therapeutic extraction, a thorough diagnostic exercise is essential. That is model analysis, as discussed in the previous lecture, to find out which tooth to be extracted according to space requirements in the arch. Preoperative radiographs are a valuable aid in planning and execution of extraction. About features, extraction should be as atraumatic as possible. Care should be taken to preserve the integrity of the socket. Any break or loss of either buccal or lingual bony plates may prevent idle position of the teeth during orthodontic therapy. The next is serial extraction. It is an interceptive orthodontic procedure. It is usually initiated in the early mixed dentition period. It includes the planned extraction of certain deciduous teeth and later specific permanent teeth in an orderly sequence and predetermined pattern to guide the erupting permanent teeth into a more favorable position. Clinical clues to serial extractions are premature loss of deciduous teeth, arch length tooth material discrepancy, lingual eruption of laterals, canines erupting mesially over laterals, mesial drift of buccal segments, flaring or proclination, ectopic eruption, labial stripping or gingival recession, usually of lower incisors. Then removal of impacted teeth. The most common teeth to be impacted other than third molars are maxillary canine, followed by premolar and maxillary second molar. And they are indicated for extraction if they are ectopically erupted, adjacent teeth are in good contact, any pathology associated with it, if they are causing undue pressure on the root of standing tooth. Radiographic location of tooth should be undertaken. During extraction, care should be taken not to damage adjacent teeth or roots. The tooth is approached by a buccal or palatal flap depending on its location. And removal of supernumerary teeth, they should be extracted when in anterior maxillary region it prevents eruption of permanent incisors and if they are causing malpositioning of the adjacent teeth, and if erupted, causing crowding and periodontal complications, or if some cyst is associated with it. Next is surgical uncovering of impacted teeth. The presence of impacted teeth in dental arch can cause minor dental irregularities due to deflection of adjacent teeth. Impaction of teeth usually occur as a result of arch length discrepancy or presence of mucosal or bony barriers that prevent their eruption. The most commonly impacted tooth is the maxillary permanent canine, but in many cases, it is possible for the orthodontist to guide the impacted canine into normal location in the dental arch after adequate surgical procedure. An unerupted canine may be a candidate for surgical exposure if no sign of tooth even after 12 years of age, adequate space in the arch, unobstructed path of eruption, radiographically if root is not dilacerated. Following steps are undertaken in management of impacted tooth. First is location of the tooth. Second, evaluation of favorability. Third, evaluation of space adequacy. Fourth, surgical excision and bone removal. And fifth, fixing orthodontic attachments. First is location of the tooth. Each exact location of impacted tooth has to be determined. Most impacted teeth present as a bulge corresponding to their location, which should be examined clinically by inspection and palpation. For example, as in the photograph, you could notice a bulge in this part of the quadrant. And radiographically, this can be done using tube shift or right angle technique. Next is evaluation of favorability. The favorability should be examined prior to the procedure. It is considered favorable when apex of the canine is closer to its normal position. In many cases, the orientation of impacted teeth may be such that surgical orthodontic guidance of tooth into the arch may not be possible. For example, in the first radiograph, both maxillary canines along with their apex are in their normal position. In second radiograph, both maxillary canines are horizontally impacted and their apex are far away from the normal position. Evaluation of space availability. When impacted tooth is guided into dental arch, adequate space should be present for their normal alignment. In many cases involving the impaction of permanent canine, the deciduous canines they are overeaten, and these teeth have to be extracted to accommodate the permanent canine. Next step is surgical excision and bone removal. The crown of impacted tooth is exposed by excision of the overlying soft tissue and removal of bone covering. The bone should be removed up to maximum height of contour. And the last step is fixing orthodontic attachment. In most cases of favorably impacted canines, once the soft tissue and bony tissue is removed, the canine erupts on its own. In some cases, orthodontic guidance for eruption of the teeth into the arch may be required. Attachments are placed on the impacted tooth to guide the erupting tooth into the arch. The attachment could be a edgewise bracket, could be a gold chain, could be a bracket bracket, or a bondable button or lingual button. Any of these attachments can be used for force application afterward. The next minor surgical procedure is frenectomy. Frenectomy is a surgical procedure performed to excise the frenum and remove the deeply embedded fibrous tissue. It may be a labial frenectomy and lingual frenectomy. Two schools of thoughts are it should be performed before orthodontic treatment and it should be done after orthodontic treatment as it reduces the risk of scar tissue that prevents the closure of diastema. First of all, indications of labial frenectomy. When a median diastema or midline diastema is being caused or held open by a thick, short, and fibrous labial frenum, which is attached to the incisive papilla. Sometimes this frenum may insert in the intermaxillary suture area on the palatal aspect, and when tension is applied to the frenum, incisive papilla blanch. That is what we do in blanch test. Frenectomy usually done only after eruption of permanent lateral incisors and canine, then fails to close the midline diastema. It can be done either before or after appliance therapy has approximated central incisor. About technique, the purpose of frenectomy is to eliminate the fibrous tissue between the roots of central incisors so that there is no obstruction to approximation of these teeth by appliance therapy. Now, little bit oral surgery part. Local anesthetic is infiltrated on either side of the frenum, and an assistant holds the lip outwards and forward while exerting pressure on the lateral aspect, thereby reducing and the resultant bleeding. With 15 number knife, incisions down to the bone are made on either side of the frenum, going in between the teeth and joined around the incisive papilla. With the periosteal elevator, underlying fibrous tissue is detached from the palatal bone and in between the teeth. This releases the frenum, which is left attached to the lip at its anterior end. Then coming to lingual frenectomy, the band of tissue connecting the tongue to the floor of the mouth is called the lingual frenum or frenulum. An unusually thick, large, or tight lingual frenum can seriously constrict the movement of the tongue, and this condition is called tongue tie or ankyloglossia. Occasionally, this frenum might be congenitally short, thick or tight, or may extend too far down along the tongue. Symptoms are children may have difficulty in breastfeeding as infants and may later develop lisping. The patient is unable to clear away food from the roof of the palate and from labiobuccal sulcus because of limited tongue movement. Occasionally, irregularity of the lower incisors may develop. Some patients may develop an open bite because of the pull of the frenum on the jaw and tongue thrusting. In adults, in edentulous patients, the frenum may interfere with the fit of the lower denture, causing its displacement every time the tongue moves. About clinical features, the tongue acquires a heart shape when raised. The patient cannot extend tongue out to a point and it curves down when extended. An unusually short range of tongue extension may indicate the need for a lingual frenectomy. Treatment is it is performed using either scalpel or a carbon dioxide laser. The surgeon excises the frenum or performs a Z-plasty in order to mobilize the tongue. Next minor surgical procedure is paricision. Paricision or circumferential supracrestial fibrotomy, the short form is CSF. In orthodontics, do not ever confuse CSF whenever asked with cerebrospinal fluid. Here it is circumferential supracrestial fibrotomy, often called a minor surgical procedure that is undertaken to counter the relapse tendency of the stretched gingival fibers. Paricision involves surgical sectioning of these fibers by passing a sharp narrow scalpel through the gingival sulcus around the tooth to a depth of 2 mm apical to the alveolar crest. Paricision is generally undertaken as an adjunctive retention procedure after correction of rotation. As we know, rotation in orthodontics is the most difficult tooth movement to retain. So if we have treated a case with moderate to severe crowding in the arch, along with the removable or fixed retention, if paricision is also done or performed, it minimizes the chances of relapse. The technique is Edwards technique. Under LA with 11 number knife is passed through gingival sulcus up to crest of alveolar bone, about 2 mm deep. Cuts are made interproximally on each side of a rotated tooth and along the labial or lingual gingival margin. Next is transplantation of tooth. Transplantation of tooth or teeth has been advocated as an alternative to other methods of treatment of impacted teeth, and it may be a good alternative for the adult patients who cannot undergo conventional orthodontic movement of impacted tooth. The advocated technique is the careful wide exposure of the impacted tooth. The tooth is then moved into its position within the dental arch and is stabilized with a segmental orthodontic appliance. Endodontic treatment, if necessary, is rendered 6 to 8 weeks after the surgical procedure, initially using a calcium hydroxide paste. Then a conventional root canal filling is done 1 year later. Teeth may be transplanted from one position to another in the dental arch. A last minor surgical procedure is corticotomy. It is a surgical procedure usually undertaken in patients having dental procrustation with spacing. It is done in young adults to reduce the duration of appliance therapy. There is rapid movement of one or more teeth with this technique. This technique involves the sectioning of the dentoalveolar region into multiple small units to fasten orthodontic tooth movement. Labial flaps are raised and interdental bony cuts are made parallel to the long axis of the teeth, and these cuts they are joined by a horizontal bony cut above the apices of the roots. Care should be taken not to totally separate the individual units. Following the surgery, orthodontic tooth movement is initiated using the fixed appliance. An additional minor surgical procedure is osteotomy for rapid palatal expansion. It is indicated in adults with skeletal maxillary constriction or narrow maxillary arch. RME, that is rapid maxillary expansion, is not possible because of the fusion of mid-palatal suture. Expansion device, as shown in the picture, is cemented before surgery followed by corticotomies. Mid-palatal sutures are osteotomized. After that, expansion is carried out in small increments. A stabilization period of 6 weeks for bony consolidation to occur is required. The conclusion is only through team effort that the multifaceted problems can be successfully controlled. To accomplish optimal orthodontic treatment, a combined effort of oral and maxillofacial surgeon and orthodontist is essential. So that is all about minor surgical procedures in orthodontics. Thank you.